Hey, good morning, everyone. What is going on? Welcome. It's Wednesday morning. I'm Nick Perro of Banner and Backbone. I'm joined by my good friend, co host, and colleague, Melissa Corrigan of Counterstory Media, Banner and Backbone, Blue Amp Media. Does she shut up? Pink hair and pronouns. What does Melissa not do is really the question. Rather than what does she do, is what can Melissa not do? And it's very little. She does a lot. So, what's up, Melissa? It's good to have you. It's good to see you, my friend. Um, we're going to have a great day today on the window of discussion. Um, how are you this morning before we get into anything? And yeah, oh, we lost her. We're having tech issues this morning. If y'all didn't know, it's okay. It happens. It's live. This is what happens on lives is we get tech issues. Good morning, everyone in the chat. As you start coming on in too, I am really excited for today's episode. We got Melissa back. What's up, Melissa? Welcome, my friend. How are you? Oh no, we're gonna have tech difficulties today, aren't we? There she is. Hold on. Are the VPNs playing with us again? That's always the problem, is the VPN. Dang, that was a quick show. Good morning, B. Oh, there she is. Good morning, Melissa. How are you?
There I am. Good morning. I'm good. I'm hanging in there.
Good. So we're going to have a really good episode today and hopefully a really good discussion. And we may be joined here in a little while, depending on how they feel. Is Sherrod Sweeney may be able to show up. He's been under the weather for the last couple of weeks, which really sucks because he's been wanting to be part of these discussions. Invite is out if Shane wants to jump on at any point too. Gavin Faber, our normal crowd, Evan Fields, anyone who's in our normal group, they know they're welcome to jump on in whenever they want. But this episode, we're going to be talking about nonviolent resistance and the rise of nonviolent resistance in the wake of the murders that have been going on by ICE, the multiple murders that have been going on by ICE since before New Year's Eve. I don't know all their names, and I'm sorry that I do not. I do know that we've had Keith Porter Jr., we've had Renee Nicole Good, we've had Alex Jeffrey Preddy. And those three names have kicked off a lot. Plus, we now have the Minnesota Four of journalists who have been impacted by the regime's crackdown on our rights and freedoms. And I want to get your thoughts into that because you are part of another media organization that's doing a really good thing right now. And I want to highlight what Blue Ant Media is doing throughout this with the open letter that got put up and what people can do in response to that and how they can support that letter for First Amendment freedoms and rights. But how have you been, before we get too far into these discussions, Melissa, how have you been these last few weeks? There's a lot that has gone on. I've seen you busy as hell. You put out some really good stuff. You also have a new show that I saw on Blue Amp Media, and you were on with Tim Whitaker this week, which is really awesome. I've spoken with him before, and he's super cool. You and I have both spoken with him before, and he's super cool.
That's where I met him, was on your show back in like September or October sometime. Yeah,
it was ages ago now. That's crazy.
It does feel like ages.
How has it been though for you? How's balancing all this workload and what you've been doing? Because last week I talked about, or the week before I talked about actions in review, and so let's review some actions. How are you feeling with things and what's going on right now?
Man, it's a lot, right? Like it's a lot. We've had this conversation at Blue Amp among our staff members there, and having conversations about the very real mental health impacts of what we do, and we stare into the abyss every day. And not only do we stare into it, we try and make sense of it, and then package it and give it to people who are not staring into the abyss all day. So not only do we have to like stand there in this fire hose of shit, we have to then select out of that what's important enough that we feel like is being intentionally sort of overridden with all of the noise, and we have to pull out what's important and package it in a way that's understandable so we can get it to people. Because what's sort of become my new personal tagline that I keep repeating is that we want empowered voters, and empowered voters are informed and educated. And if you're not informed and educated, you can't really be an empowered voter. So everything that I'm publishing, that I'm covering, is directly tied to informing people of the most important things, in my opinion. Everybody else is going to have their own opinion, but in my opinion, what are the most important things that people need to know in this moment? Like, for example, Dana and I are, I'm going to be on the Daily Whatever show on Thursday, tomorrow, to talk about the SAVE Act and what that means for married women, and not just married women, for trans people, or for literally anyone who has had to change their name for any reason in America. The SAVE Act still hasn't gotten through Congress, but or through Senate, but it's just sitting there. And it's this bomb that I think they could choose to push through in order to it's election interference, in order to interfere with
Yes.
the election. And because a lot of women don't know what's in it, I believe what's going to happen is they're going to keep pushing this legislation off until it's really too late for a lot of women to get their documents. So we're putting together a list of documents that you need to be getting now. Order it now. And it's also going to save you money to order it now, because if you order it October the 15th to try and go vote in November, you're not going to get these documents back in time unless you pay a lot of money for rush processing, rush shipping. So if we can educate people and empower them with plenty of time, we can lessen some of this panic effect. So
Yeah.
what we're looking at now, and what we know when you've studied Steve Bannon and his crazy ways, is this flood the zone strategy is their number one go-to strategy. These people are doing insane shit on Fridays, on weekends. They're flooding our evening hours. They love to do things in the evening hours, make these grand announcements or hold votes at 9 o'clock at night. And we've seen that from some administrations before, but this regime has made it really their just their standard operation is chaos like this. So it's been a year.
Yeah.
So when you reflect upon a year, they've given us a lot of good information. They've given us their strategy. Their strategy is flood the zone. Once you know that, you can then use that. So
Yeah.
we've had to spend this time looking at what they're doing to us, the psyops they're pulling. We have to look at how they're controlling information, and out of that we can pull our strategy. So for me, the liberal strategy for the next 10 months has got flood the zone. We have to take pages out of their playbook and spit it right back at them. So,
God,
you
I've
know,
been saying this.
I'm
We've been saying this forever.
yes, yes. So I'm trying to empower people to take that next step, because we have a lot of followers and subscribers that are partaking of this information, but we still have to give them actionable ways to go forth and execute. And right now, flooding the zone to me is the the strategy that we all need to be doing. We need to be as loud as them all the time across the board. And we see over the past month with TikTok, TikTok has decided to uh, heavily censor their platform, and you have a lot of liberal left voices that are suddenly silenced there. Um, to me, I saw that coming. I said that was coming months ago. I said we are being electronically kettled. They got us off of Twitter, they got us off of Meta, and now they're working on getting us off of TikTok. They are electronically kettling us to essentially Substack and YouTube. Okay, that's shitty. But if we know that these are the platforms we still have, we should be
Yeah.
flooding them. We should be flooding them, and we should still be pushing back and still putting content on those other platforms, whether or not the content gets suppressed. If even a handful of people sees it and they learn something and they can take an action item away from seeing that content, then it's still worth it, even if it's not monetizable anymore. And that's another
Yeah.
thing.
So
With this electronic
let's
peddling, they're trying to financially starve leftist creators as well.
Oh, absolutely. So let's take an example of that in what we're doing and say what Banner and Backbone has done in the last couple weeks is, hey, Facebook family that we are live streaming to right now. What's up, y'all? Have fun on Facebook. I don't support the platform. I don't even use it. I use it for Banner and Backbone. I automate delivery to Facebook so that certain clips get on there or shows go live. But I don't post on Facebook. I don't actively use it. We probably won't ever be able to monetize on Facebook. We may never get enough following there.
Oh
But you
no.
know what? If 30 people see what we're doing on Facebook, those 30 people are going to tell somebody else. That's at least
Right.
60 to 90 people that now know what is going on. Because you can assume for every one person, they will probably tell two people during the day, hey, I saw this interesting clip from this company called Banner and Backbone Media or Blue Amp Media or Counter Story Media or Sick of the Shit Publications or the Firebrand Project or something like that. They're going to see it on Facebook and they're going to go, huh, let me forward this to my chat group. This is interesting. Or
Yeah.
that's where a lot of indivisible chapters find their homes, is unfortunately on Facebook.
Hmm.
You may find your stuff in an indivisible page if they allow that type of content, or if what you're doing is like an actionable item of like, Melissa, you talked about the list of things that women should be accruing right now. There was a question in the chat that I want to make sure I ask, which is, do you have that list available and can we publish it here on Banner and Backbone, um, so that it is easily available to our community as well?
Yes. And it's we're going to be dropping a piece through BAM maybe today, maybe this afternoon. I do believe it's coming out this afternoon that Dana Dubois and I co-wrote with all the information that you're going to need from
Rocket.
to get all of your documents, what documents you need in order to be able to go vote. And when I say go vote, there is so if you're already registered to vote and you're not planning to move before November, you should be good. However, voter roll purges are a thing. They happened in my state, in Virginia, before the presidential election last time. A big one happened in Texas. It made national news. So voter roll purges are a thing, and so there needs to be literally an appointment on your calendar once a month, and probably in the weeks leading up to the election, once a week, for women, trans people, or anyone who's had a name change to check their voter registration, to just check it. And honestly, these are documents that, birth certificate. These are the documents that you're going to need to get a passport. These are documents that I've been encouraging people to get anyway. We should have certified copies of these documents in our house, and we should have photocopies of those documents in a go bag in our house. In ideal, everybody doesn't have that. I
Yeah,
understand, but
it's expensive to
these are
get those
documents that we
documents.
all need to be ordering. Right, right.
Here's the thing too.
Yeah, and if you especially moved around a
Yeah,
lot.
sorry to interrupt on you there. Here's the thing too. They're expensive. Make sure you get them. Put aside some money if you can
Yes,
right now to get those documents. The fact that they're expensive is on purpose. That is a form of suppression
yes,
too.
right.
We have to address that
If
part
you
in the
live in the
future too.
state, like here in Virginia, you can go directly to a DMV to request a certified birth certificate, and it's only $14. So, if there's an option in your state, if you haven't moved, if you live in the state where your birth certificate was issued, then there probably are cheaper options if you go ahead and act now and get that ball rolling now. You can probably do it for a much reduced price. If you live in a different state, you're probably going to have to go through a service like Vital Check or whatever, service that.
Oh no, we lost Melissa again. She'll be back. Oh, perfect. She's back. Again, folks, sorry about any of the tech issues. It happens. They don't like us. They don't like us. They don't like that we talk about this shit.
They
Even if it
don't.
is just fake gremlins, they don't like that we talk about this shit because
Right.
we're literally telling the counter story to what they want. Melissa's your uh, your publication is aptly named and really well named. Is this is a counter story that has to be told? Like they don't want this story to get out there that women
Yeah.
and the right to vote for women is directly under attack on purpose, and they're holding on to it with the Save Act, and they're going to attempt to pass it really, really close to the election in
Yes.
November, like end of
Yes.
October, November, and they're going to find a way to make it so the Supreme Court doesn't block the enactment of it. Because most things voting, if they
Mhm.
get for very, very long time, including especially this court, even Republican states, when they try and do too much too close to the election, the Supreme Court is usually and has been spot on for almost all of it, saying no, including when we want things to get through. Those they're more flexible on saying how far back it needs to be and like how far away from an election it should be that they can do this. But they've never allowed something within like even 6 months of an election. Like they don't even allow it normally within a year of an election most times because elections are not run by the federal government. Elections are run by states, and if the states go, hey, yeah, no, fuck that, we can't do that, they won't do it
Right.
because the feds butt the fuck out of the elections first because elections are run by the states. This is really, really important to talk about is elections and voter interference and the attacks on women specifically around the voter interference um, is I think this fits in with our rise for the need of nonviolent peaceful resistance and ongoing and continued and increased peaceful resistance is
Yes.
they're coming for the right to vote for women. I'm
Yes.
not going to
They're coming for
sugarcoat that.
so many rights, and I think that when I say that people need to be educated and empowered, this helps your mental health.
Yeah,
When you
yeah,
go to vote, let's say you're a married woman, and let's say the Save Act does pass at the 11th hour, and you go vote, just picture how empowering it is if you are challenged by an election official in your state or by an armed ICE officer who wants to see your documents. How empowering is it to look them in their face and whip them out? Yeah, I've got my documents. And what? And what? So this is what I'm
mm-hmm.
talking about when I talk about empowering people, because it makes you feel stronger. It makes you feel braver when you know what's coming and you're prepared for it.
Yes,
So, uh, hoping against all hope the Save Act isn't going to pass, hoping the Supreme Court, if the past year has shown us anything, hoping and to start taking action. Go ahead and
yeah,
be proactive. What's the worst that comes out of it? You're out and you have a copy of your birth certificate. Like that's the worst that
yeah,
comes out
put
of
it
it
in your
is that you
firebox.
are right.
Yeah,
So we have to start being on offense. It says we have to start being on offense. And this, I get into some, well, you know me, I don't shy away from controversial stuff, and that's okay. But being on offense, we're talking about nonviolent strategy tactics. The tactics of going inside any house of worship while worship is actively happening is not something that I agree with. What it does is frame your whole movement under a certain
Yeah.
narrative, and that immediately puts you on the defensive. Now you're on a back foot
Yes.
trying to defend this protest that happened, and the point of the protest lost in that messaging. I don't believe a good
Yes.
strategy, and we have got to be nailing down tight, provable strategies. And people have done this work for us. My weirdo is going to get upset with me because I don't remember the author's name, but they've been reading a
They.
book
Sorry, they.
late
Yeah.
at his nonviolent resistant strategies. And
Yep.
I can't remember the guy's name, and that's really a shame because he wrote it in Norfolk. He was a professor at Norfolk State University when he wrote that book, and his name is escaping me, and that's horrible. I'm terrible at names, but those are the type of resources. That's exactly what we need to be looking at. People
Yeah.
have done this before, fully
Yeah.
organized and resisted before in nonviolent ways. We know logically that nonviolent resistance is the most successful form of resistance, but it still involves strategy. You can still have discipline and strategy like the military without being
Hmm.
militarized to the point of being armed.
In fact, I would say peaceful resistance is the hardest form of it.
Yes.
It's the most correct form, and it's the hardest form of protest and resistance in general, because you are being um yeah, I will. We'll look it up during the show. I'll make sure I get the author's name for the book, and then we'll ensure that I'll see if I can link it to in the show notes. I have a hard time remembering, so catch me if I don't. Hopefully, I do remember to do it. I've got fibro, so things just go woof, and I've got a lot of things going on. Sorry, y'all. I will try to get the book title and author. I'll reach out to Weirdo because they and I are good friends, and talk about stuff, and really cool work they are doing, like the Reading Rainbow style series that they're doing on just reading and talking about books and is
Yeah.
incredible. And it's like it's the mini version of an anti-fascist book club on a daily basis. Like that's literally what it
Uh-huh.
is. It's just an anti-fascist book club without the branding, without the same series like overarch. Like Weirdo has a great themology that it parallels our anti-fascist book club on Banner and Backbone, which is awesome because it's slightly different content. You learn new things, you learn really cool stuff in the process. And I like weirdo stuff. Smart person, very smart person,
Yeah.
and knows a lot
Mhm.
about what they're talking about. Sorry, I got off track for a second. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I'll loop back in with the title and the author, if I can throughout the show. If not, I will do it at the end of the show. Um, what this goes into, though, is I'm going to put up a QR code here um, on the screen here in a moment. Um, so two things. There's two cool announcements. I know I talked about the first one the other day. Is in the top left hand corner of the screen right now. There's a QR code for Broadbanner, which is the new network calendar and community calendar for Banner and Backbone and our affiliates and our friends of the network. You will see Melissa's name on there. She is amazing. And it's where where I'm helping deconflict and centralize our show scheduling abilities so that we don't conflict, we don't sit on top of each other, and do shows over each other, and we can all get content out there. That's the first spot. Also, it's a great place you're going to be able to find all your favorite contributors, so that you can go follow them on other socials as well. That's really important, is to follow on other socials. One of those we didn't call out earlier was Blue Sky. Is if you're not on Blue Sky, I'm going to be trying to start making a much more visible Banner and Backbone presence, and hopefully Sick of This Shit publication presence. It's harder to do it for me because I am trying to make the tool so I can automate some of the delivery on that. So just bear with me. It's not
Mhm.
quite as straightforward as like YouTube or Facebook or TikTok, because those actually, like for Restream, I can automate clip uploads from there. I'll have to make the tool in the background for the Blue Sky one. So just give me a couple days. Hopefully, I can get some more appearance on Blue Sky. But the big one I wanted to talk about was, let me open up this letter. It's an open letter from Blue Amp Media um, to defend. Let me just stop typing in, or stop talking and type for a second. I'm going to put this on the bottom. It does not have an image attached to it right now, but just know that there is an image. I just not enough time to go grab it. That's an open letter to defend democracy from Blue Amp Media. Um, and Melissa, can you talk about this? And because you were talking
Yeah,
about protests getting lost in a narrative because of it happened at a church. We're not talking about the protest
right,
itself anymore. We're talking about the arrests. Um, and so, can you
right.
talk about this a little bit? And then we'll go into this open letter.
Yeah, obviously the arrest of journalists for covering any type of activity is astounding and shocking and appalling. As I've mentioned, I wrote a full piece on the other three individuals that were arrested. Georgia Fort was a journalist as well, an independent journalist, but not just any journalist. She's held a spotlight to white supremacist narratives. She began her career in traditional journalism in a newsroom and essentially caused so much good trouble that she had to move into the independent media sphere because she kept challenging the narratives that would come up in the traditional way the media covered police brutality in particular. So Georgia Fort was arrested for covering this event, but is an independent journalist who has held a spotlight to specifically police brutality. Jamal Lundy is a current political candidate running for Minnesota 65, and he was
Of
arrested four
course.
days before his. So he was able to get out in time to be at his caucus. Thank goodness. That to me is 100% election interference and intimidation of a political candidate. And aside from what he's currently doing in running for office, he has been a long running legislative aide and state aide, and he has been pivotal. He sat on the head of a committee that handled police brutality. Okay, and then our fourth individual arrest, Cruz, who is the co-founder of Black Lives Matter in Minnesota, one of the most active chapters, and he himself has been involved in writing legislation to address police brutality. So we see the arrest of Don Lemon. That's the headline. They arrest a journalist. That's bad enough. But the other three people arrested are extremely targeted. Those were extremely targeted arrests, extremely targeted individuals. The common thread among all four was that they were black, and the common thread among the other three is that they've done work substantially drawing attention to and going further to actually enact legislative change in terms of police. So come on.
Yes.
When you just dig into it, it even past the surface level. And I'm pretty shocked that a lot more mainstream journalists have not dug into who the other people arrested were. That's a little bit of frustration for me because they're very important. Those are targeted arrests. They targeted big
Oh,
media,
yes.
that was Don, little media with Georgia Fort, civic engagement leaders like Trahern Hughes, who is the co-founder of Black Lives Matter, and political candidates from the Democratic side. They targeted the sort of columns that hold up free speech. So
Yeah.
it was a momentous day of arrest for way more reasons just Don Lemon and the free press and the much bigger story there. So Cliff wrote a letter. We all sort of contributed to it at Blue Amp, saying the urgency of this moment, what this arrest means, and what it means for us here and every other platform like Substack, where we have, independent journalism is struggling right now. They are choking us out on every platform. Like I said, they have choked us out of Twitter a couple years ago. They've choked us out of Meta over since the inauguration. When we saw those billionaires line up with him at his inauguration, right? It was like, this is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So they've choked independent journalists off of almost every major platform. And Substack is sort of our last bastion that we're holding on to. And we need to be addressing uh, legislatively and through politically what with these arrests. So this open letter doesn't just outline the arrest and what the problem with it was. There's a list of demands in there that we, the people, and we, the free press, are demanding. So it's an open letter, it's a link that you can letter, and I'm telling you, there's a paragraph spot there for you to add your own statement. And some of the statements that we've gotten are profound. And we're going to be publishing, we're actually going to be a site where we have a scrolling, sort of permanent presence on our website with the scrolling comments that people have added, the statements that people have added, because they're powerful and your voices matter as much as our voices matter. And again, this is part of not just amplifying our voices and our name. We want to amplify all of your voices and your names too. When you click there, that takes you to the letter, and there is a Google form link somewhere near the top of the letter, I believe, and you can click there and add your voice to it, and it's going to be well, so we can amplify all of you and to flood the zone with this type of content and fight back a little bit. It's the flooding of the zone with garbage.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. I know I signed the letter, I think it was yesterday. I don't remember exactly. I wrote a
Mm-hmm.
statement on it. And I can't find the statement that I wrote again. That's okay. However, I stand with these four journalists. I stand with the four journalists who are here, the Minnesota Four, as they are. And I notice one really major thing in common with all of them: they're not white.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they're all black.
Right.
That was on
Right.
purpose. Not only is
Right.
this an attack on the First Amendment, not only is this an egregious attack on the First Amendment. And in 2013, when I enlisted in the US Army, I swore an oath to uphold, to support, and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Not for a person, not for a president, but to the Constitution. And the Constitution
Right.
is under attack. That is what is under attack. I am here to defend the Constitution. If this was another leader doing this exact same thing, not named Donald Trump, I would be out here just as angrily
Yes.
because, and
Right.
just as often, because it's that important, because it's about the Constitution. This was a targeted attack on the Constitution, on the First Amendment, and our rights to a free and fair press, to a free and fair speech, and ability to express ourselves and expression in general. And this was incredibly racially motivated. This was a signal
Yes.
to any non white journalist that your rights don't matter. What the rules for thee,
Yes.
or rules for me, but not for thee. And that me doesn't really include Melissa and I in the long run. It does for a lot longer than it does if you are not the same color skin either one of us is. And that's really fucking unfortunate, and a really fucking appalling thing I have to say is that if you're not white in America, your rights don't really matter. And I
right.
and that's Jim Crow.
And
That
and
is apartheid.
the way that they went about these arrests is, you know, all of it was designed to inspire fear. When they went to Georgia Fort's house before the sun rose at dark, she has multiple masks and essentially a SWAT team outside her house. You send a SWAT team when you think that they're going to fight back with weapons. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's what SWAT
Yeah.
teams are for. The egregious overuse of resources, which also we haven't, I don't think, been talking enough about that, about the sheer volume of taxpayer dollars that have gone to these egregious over displays of power that are just, you could have sent one guy to go arrest Georgia Ford.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't need to send a SWAT team because this small black woman is not going to fight you. This professional
Yeah.
reporter is
Like
not going
what
to fight
risk?
you. So I don't know if you saw her video, but the video of him in her window in the dark of night, it's absurd. I mean, it's just absurd. That type of fear tactic was completely uncalled for. It was completely irrational. It's totally overblown, and it all into their narrative of it trying to inspire.
And one of the things that I know very, very, very clearly after watching all of this and ensuring that I'm fucking paying attention, because when I was younger, I didn't pay attention enough to what is going on. Black people in this country have been trained to not respond with violence to SWAT teams and police forces
Mhm.
coming in their house. White people in America have been trained, if you come in my house, I'm going to shoot you. There's a
Yes, right,
very big fucking difference right there in the access to freedoms. Oh no, we lost Melissa again for a second. She'll be back. There is a very, very big difference there in the ability for somebody to have freedom and rights based on your skin color. Black Americans, non white Americans, in fact, have been trained that if somebody, a police force, is at your door knocking or busting through, you don't fight back. You willingly go with them. Else you'll be seen as the problem. Else you will be the problem. Not because
right,
you are the problem, but because they turn it into the problem. But if you're white and some
right,
person comes into my house, I've always been taught this, and it's what I would do. Is if some group of masked men came into my house, I would defend myself and my family because that's my right. And because I'm
right,
not going to get taken by a group of masked fucking people. We've all seen what happens in those movies. We all know what that means. Masked people are the bad guys. But every other group in
right,
America has been trained into and indoctrinated and taught that you are second class citizens when it comes to amendments and rights to be able to express yourself, to be able to provide safety to yourself and your family. That's why the Black Panthers are walking around with weapons in Philly. They're doing it as a statement. Do I think people should be arming themselves and bringing them to protests? No, I don't, because I think it's escalatory. I don't think we need to escalate in that way. I think part of nonviolent resistance is allowing white Americans to overcome the indoctrination too that we have of we have to shoot back. I think be, that is a white problem too. Like we
right,
have to confront this on all angles. It cannot just be, oh, we need to make it safe for black people or non-white people to own guns. No, we need to make it safe and a free society where you don't feel the need to own a gun in public. You don't feel the need to carry that gun anywhere other than to a rifle range or a gun range or to go hunting with because you're not afraid to go
right,
out in public. Like that's what we should be doing. We should be disarming ourselves in public, not disarming ourselves. Americans, keep your fucking guns. I don't give a shit. I don't want to take your guns away unless they're like AR-15s. Like, nobody really needs those. Those are weapons of war. We don't really need those on our streets at all. Hunting rifles, pistols,
Right.
shotguns, those are hunting weapons. Those are self-defense weapons. Those are not meant to go out into large crowds and kill a whole bunch of people with. An AR-15 is. We're off topic a little bit because of the Second
Right.
Amendment part, but like, this whole thing is, we cannot allow them to targetedly arrest Black journalists. We cannot allow them to then, because the
But
next step
I
from
don't
there
think that we're
is Wajahada.
I
Like,
don't think that
we're
we're
not
off topic
allowing
though,
it
because I
because
think
we push back really
I've
well.
seen some conversations. Yeah, I've seen some conversations surrounding the idea of what the Black Panthers are around the idea of arming yourself versus not arming yourself. I have personal opinions that are my personal opinions, but part of my personal opinion is offer guidance or advice to the Black if they feel compelled to arm
Nope. Yeah. Oh, we're losing you a little bit again, Melissa. You may drop on us. Internet
them.
today
Can you hear me
is, let me
now?
see if it's my side.
It's been
Yes, I
terrible.
can hear you now.
Um, so when you look at the idea of violent resistance, and someone in the comment earlier made the good point that nonviolent does not also always mean peaceful. You can kick up a fuss without not, you know what I mean? Um, Going and
Yes.
performing certain types of protests are not inherently peaceful. You're going to disrupt the way of life. You're going to get in roadways. You're going to impede buildings. Those are nonviolent and be peaceful. You may not be keeping the peace. So that's something also to. It's a complicated discussion, and there's lots of layers to it,
Oh
particularly
shit,
in
we
a
got Shane.
nation where, particularly on the topic of firearms. It's a complicated issue. It's a sensitive issue. It's a person to person issue. There's no one rule that's going to dictate. Although I do think the overall, for me, the sort of ground line basis common sense type of rule would be to not carry a firearm to a protest, march, or rally. Engage in political activity. I don't think you need to be armed because then it does change the dynamic too. But for everybody around you, then it changes the entire environment. So it's not just about you and what you feel compelled to protest. It's also the fact that protests are group activities. So what you engage in is going to inherently impact people around you are treated, and you need to be mindful of that. So I, as a white woman, am not a gun to a protest if it's going to endanger the Black and brown people around me at that protest. That would be incredibly irresponsible. So again, that's me. I'm drawing my line. Am I going to carry my personal firearm around in other aspects of my life? Maybe. Maybe I am.
Yeah,
Again, that's my choice, but that's not when I'm engaging in.
correct. Yeah. I think, and
Yeah.
that's one of the big things, is peaceful resistance is the hardest form of resistance, because violence is the easy answer. Violence is the easy answer because it's just, oh,
Mhm.
I don't want to use my words, so just fuck it. I'm gonna just be mean and just be a shitty fucking person and just shoot you because I don't like you. That's what they. That's what the right advocates for, is the easy answer, the easiest solution, the fastest solution to their problem is bullying, is to go as violent and bullyish as possible. And it's our jobs to take the hard route and doing the hard work of protesting peacefully, of understanding when it is appropriate to carry a firearm and not, if you are in a society where you have the right to have a firearm. When should you not carry it? You definitely should not carry it to a civic event or a protest event, because that's how it turns into January 6th. That's how it turns into an insurrection on the Capitol with people with weapons that they had stocked up and ready to go to start shooting and killing people. You don't want to be that. That is terrorism. On the other end, the label, and this, Shane, welcome, my friend. I'll let you jump in here in a second, is
That's okay.
we also have to live with the point of NSPM 7. We have to live with that National Security Presidential Memo 7, which labeled pretty much anything that we do on the left as terrorism, domestic terrorism. Just remember that your free speech includes the ability to spend money or not spend money at a business, which means you are allowed to economically destroy a fucking company. That is not terrorism. That's your First Amendment fucking right. Go fucking use it, man. Use that shit. Shane, what do you think, dude? What's up, Shane? It's Shane Yurick of the Firebrand Project. Welcome,
Hello,
brother.
Shane.
How are you this morning?
What's going on? Good to see you guys. MC, I've missed you. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here today. It's funny because I know, sad times. Well, but so it's funny you guys are talking about this, particularly like I dropped in right when Melissa was saying dropping wisdom. I hope you internalize every word that she said, because when MC says something, you listen. But here's the thing. I think is very true about this is this idea of peaceful resistance. But you also have to understand that we have to find a way to up the ante, okay? Because you're in a competition effectively, right? There's peaceful protest. We know that peaceful protest in its current form is not sufficient because they're still progressing. So there needs to be some level of evolution. We need to up the ante. Now, how do you do that? Well, I was thinking about this last night when I couldn't sleep and my brain wouldn't turn off. And Nick, when I've been here last time, we've talked about this idea of a well-regulated militia. You don't need to actually perpetrate violence to demonstrate what you're capable of if you're forced to do violence. These ideas of well-regulated militias, it's one thing for a bunch of people to show up with signs. It would be another thing entirely for your local militia, which you can go about this however you want, armed, unarmed. I would say 100% unarmed for something that I'm about to recommend. You can go and show that, hey, this community has a well-regulated militia of 80 members. We regularly go to the range, practice firearms training. We have multiple veterans that are training people. And we're more than capable of showing up here peacefully with you could wear your carrier. If you have defensive things, you could wear a plate carrier peacefully to a protest, no firearms. You could wear certain things. You could demonstrate. The idea is you have to demonstrate to them that you don't want to do this because we're ready for you, as opposed to just going and saying only peace ever versus we're ready. So we're telling you now, Congressman, the well-regulated militia of your town is standing outside your house and demonstrating that we could be armed, but we're committed to peace. But we could be, and we are organized.
This is what's going on in Minneapolis right now, right?
Correct.
That's what's working in Minneapolis is they're organizing, they're gathering together, they're showing up, they're beginning to build barricades in their own neighborhoods, police checkpoints of their own to police the police, where they have citizens with a piece of plywood across the road and they you into the neighborhood unless you demonstrate. So I think that's happening. Like Minneapolis is showing us in ways that there are successful ways of being non-violent while not letting yourself get trampled on.
That's the idea, right? You're upping the ante. You're saying, okay, you're going to shoot us in the street. Well, this is what you're actually up against. You're not as powerful as you think. There's way more people here and we're organized. And you know what? The most important thing here I have to say, to be honest with you guys, is leadership. You need to find leaders in your community that you need to organize around. If you want to have a well-regulated militia that's capable of saying, actually, hey, we're capable of fighting you, we don't want to. You need to have someone who knows how the hell that would happen. You need to find someone in your community who knows how to do that. You could take that a step further. You could do unarmed drills, unarmed exercises. One of the major ways in the world geopolitically that you project power is not by fighting, but performing an exercise that demonstrates your capabilities. You could run around your neighborhood with Nerf guns, and you should record it and say, my local militia doing coordinating and working on community defense drills. And you could demonstrate that you have potentially effective fire teams in your neighborhood that could conduct an operation, a counter-ICE operation. It's time to stop thinking, yes, the commitment is to peace, but you have to prepare to defend yourself. And you can do that. It's that idea of upping the ante. If you don't, they're going to be doing that.
This is where we as, hold on, dropping stuff. This is where we as communities need to, one, use our privilege really carefully. And we need to ensure what we're doing is based off the work of the communities that are already doing it. So I'm going to follow like my lead on how I'm going to up the antes. And I'm not disagreeing with you, Shane. Like this type of thing is not like practicing and training and being part of a well-regulated militia is that you need to have well-regulated rules and you need to be trained and certified in what you're doing. Types of well-regulated militias include poll watchers. That can be a well-regulated militia. An indivisible group could become a well-regulated militia. We think of well-regulated militias in this country as the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers and the right-wing well-regulated militias who are out there actively saying, look at all these guns we have. Look at all this power we are going to just inflict upon you. Again, Shane is saying we can advocate in similar ways. We can advocate much more peacefully and patriotically. There's a difference between peaceful and patriotic and legal and patriotic, or legal and peaceful.
Yeah.
I will not specifically advocate for any illegal actions because I don't want to get arrested, y'all. I am not advocating you break the law. I am advocating you take the law to its fullest extent on what peaceful and patriotic can allow you to do. Like Chris Goldsmith, I interviewed Chris yesterday for the Intelligent Masculinity series, and we actually ended up focusing a lot on his like recovery path that he's taken over the last 20 years and how he's still recovering and growing. And one of the things he talks about, as we all know we've talked about, is enacting a legal and financial cost immediately on being fascist. And I'll get back to that question, Elizabeth. Great question in the chat from our friend Elizabeth Raven. If you are not subscribed to her, she's out of Venezuela. She's on the ground there. She's just also really nice and just a good person and knows a ton. So go follow her and get some good information from her. Is like take the law to its fullest extent. Actively find ways that we can be submitting criminal indictments or criminality, like evidence of criminality, so that they can be prosecuted right now. That's what Chris's nonprofits have turned into, which is targeting individuals in the US. That's not what they were for. He wanted to target this type of group externally. Now it's here in the US, open and active. Part of being a well-regulated militia, and yes, militia implies armed. It's that word. It's that word. It's the word. What it means is what word Shane said.
Militia. So I think we need to come up with better. We need to come up with better branding, because militia does it in. their militia does inspire an idea of like a civil war situation, right? And what we're actually needing is so much more comprehensive than that, because having a few people in your neighborhood who are armed and trained is valuable, but it's also valuable in the neighborhoods that we have, in the current food system we have, is to know who in your neighborhood has seeds and knows how to grow food, capable of taking care of elderly people once their systems are stripped away and Medicare stops paying for the people who come to their house to take care of them, who has the capability to take care of young children so people in the neighborhood can continue to work and earn money. The concept of community eroded in the last 50 years in America that it doesn't even take weapons to knock us out. Okay, it doesn't. You pull financial resources from communities and we need guns. Okay, so what we have to be doing, group that's a similar function to militia, because the militia groups during the Revolutionary War had women part of them. The women did the cooking, the women sewed their uniforms back together, the women cared for them medically.
That's what
right?
turned
So
into
it
the
was
nurses corps in the army.
men with guns. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the overemphasis on our guns versus their guns is leaving out a huge part of the conversation of what needs to be happening with organizing, to be holistic organizing going on. And I'm going to agree with Shane that gun training does need to be part of training, because people be able to handle a firearm, defend, and not just a firearm like one of their own. If a firearm is loose, you need to be able to safely make that weapon unusable. And that's the type of firearm training that people need. When you see ice agents being tackled on the street, when you see an ice age arm discharging, my God, the irresponsibility. But what people need to be capable of is, if there's a loose firearm, getting it contained and getting that danger and that threat contained. That's the type of firearms training that's more important to the masses. A few select people are going to step and arm themselves and train in that way. That's not what everybody's comfortable doing. So it's the more organization, the parallel systems of support, ultimately.
Yeah. I want to say, because like, I want to heap support onto what both of you are saying, but I always think examples are important. Examples are so important. It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to see an example. Okay. All over the world, every day, I cover militias. Okay. It's militias that are doing all of the things, right? It's militias seizing these mines. It's militias committing genocides. I'm not saying our militias should commit genocides, but understand the template for a militia exists. It's everything that Melissa just said. It's, if you're not comfortable, your militia should not all be armed. That's not what your militia should do, because an armed entity, an armed element of a militia, and you know what these militias do? They don't call themselves militias. They're the Sovereign Shield Forces, or the Syrian Democratic Forces. Okay, they're not for democracy, but they call themselves what they want to be perceived as. Okay, we know it's not true because we can see their actions. Your militia doesn't need to be a militia. It can be a community defense force, CDF. Call it what it is, community defense force. Its only job is to defend your community. And in that community defense force, you have an element which should be made up of, at least currently, until people are trained, veterans. Veterans from Iran, Afghanistan, who are comfortable and trained.
Iraq. We haven't gone into Iran.
Iraq and Afghanistan. And I'm talking about Iran so much. Iraq.
Oh yeah, no. I get it. I'm just like, man, I'm so glad we haven't gone into Iran. Like, let's not have Iran vets too. Like,
don't talk to me about that right now. I don't want to think about that right now.
No, I don't either.
But the point being is, those people too, in particular, are trained in
and they're
urban combat. Urban combat. That is what they did. So they're going to be the best people to have in your community if that ever happens. And they should be the ones training. And most importantly, people should not just be, oh, I've trained. You need to be verified by the leaders. That's the most important thing. You need to have leaders. You need to have things in place. This militia it's an organization. It needs all the things that go into an organization, including logistics, including your poll watching division, because you can do all of those things under an organization. The key is find someone in your community. Even if you're not a leader, you know someone who is. Go to them and say, hey, democracy needs you. Our community needs you. Please step up. Find the leader, because a lot of leaders, they don't want to be leaders. they really don't. It just like they don't. They are usually, a lot of times they're pretty humble and they don't want to go out and do all that. So you got to go find them, and that's part of your responsibility in protecting your community. Is what Nick does so well is networking. Network what you need to see in your community.
Yeah, build out the systems that you need. And part of that, at least from us, is doing it here. Like, we are giving everyone the tool to jump in and start building. One of those tools you could use is the Anti-Fascist Book Club. Start your own. Go to a library. Start your Anti-Fascist Book Club. You'll probably find some folks who'd want to be part of a local community defense group or a community building group, whatever you want to call it. Like, whatever you want to call it. I do want to get to some of Elizabeth Raven asked some good questions, especially no, we're a little over time. I just want to get to Elizabeth's questions around militias, because she's not in America, and that's and it's good to know the distinctions between like gangs, militia, and a well-regulated militia, because there are differences. There are levels of what we would consider legal. Typically, if you notice, most things that are related to people who are Black are considered gangs. So I think that's more of a racial thing, because a lot of those gangs are well regulated. They would be considered militias. The Black Panthers were considered a gang at one point. Like, they were a gang in white people's eyes. What they are is a well-regulated militia. They have a set of very strict bylines. And this is where well-regulated militia makes a criteria, is it has to be like regulated. It has to follow the laws of the state and the laws of the nation. And the state government can come in and check your regulatory business structure, like your structure. Do you have a registered leader and board of directors or leadership system? Is it a registered like network within the state? The thing that makes it a well-regulated militia is it's not owned by the state itself. So the National Guard is the volunteer force that should have become our non-standing army. George, our founders were afraid of a standing army, and this is what it's bringing us. The National Guard was supposed to be that formalized level of to make a temporary army or a call-upable civilian force without the need of additional militias. Well-regulated militias are independent of the state's government. This is why you see so many groups like this in the country. Is because we're a country founded on cults. We're literally a country founded on cults. The Masons wanted the ability to continue protecting themselves and their way of life. That required well-regulated militias to defend them independent of the federal government. What we should be doing is advocating as well-regulated militias first off of building. So gangs, probably a lot of them would be considered well-regulated militias. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a legal expert on that. Groups like the Proud Boys are actual well-regulated militias. They do have bylaws. They do have all of the things. Are they legal? Probably not. So they're probably just a militia at this point. But we should be advocating for things like I talked last week with Joe Plensler, is going to the governors or your state representatives, say in Philadelphia. If state representatives and town local elected officials are not actively meeting with the Black Panthers to understand their concerns and what they can do as the state and local municipalities to make their lives better, because that would make everybody else's life better too. That's what we should be advocating for, is that these groups get the attention that they have so been asking for the last 50, 200, 200, 250 years, is listen and then do. Like Governor Shapiro, I know you're not listening, but if you wanted to make a really, really impressive statement and run for president, is go down yourself to Philadelphia, sit down with the leadership and the membership of the Black Panther organization, and ask them, how can the National Guard and how can local and state police help you and
Yeah.
help protect the neighborhoods so that you have a safer community?
Yeah.
That's what they can be doing, and that would make a huge amount of difference.
And I will say that the statement that is made is very different. Like I said, if your protest shows up and you show up not as a bunch of people, but as a well-regulated militia, you show up, you got your poll watchers, they're organized. You've got your, logistics people, they're organized. You've got someone in the front who is clearly directing different, groups of people. You demonstrate structure, organization, the ability to do these things. Your local official is going to view you very differently than a gaggle of people who have a bunch of signs. They're going to take you way more seriously. You need them. The issue here is not what we're doing as much as that's a huge part of it, but what is the result we want? And the result is we've upped the ante. You see us, you should see us. You see what we have done. And if you're not willing to do it as a community, if you force us to, we will do it in an organized way that demonstrates that we don't need you, that we as a community can organize here, and we as a community could replace you if we need to. We don't want to, but we could replace you entirely. That's upping the ante. That's what we need to do, because it's a game. Move, counter move, move, counter move. We need our counter move.
Who is this in the chat? American Citizen has mentioned multiple times in the chat, talk to law enforcement and making sure that you're being on your side is board and not the sole agents. And right here in Hampton Roads, we've seen a really dynamic play out where Norfolk and Virginia Beach are just the and they're like, but Portsmouth laid down the law from the beginning. Months ago, the Portsmouth came out on our local NPR and said, no, I don't work with ICE. Is this an ICE uniform? This is an ICE uniform. For me to be your sheriff, so I'm going to enforce the local laws, and local laws don't have anything to do with federal immigration. So we're just not going to do that. and they've drawn the line in the sand. They've drawn in the line in the sand with does not have flock cameras. So I feel safe in Portsmouth because I know the law enforcement, me as a citizen, and not make me a data point or make me a suspect prior to me ever trying to commit a crime. Whereas Norfolk and Virginia Beach have the policing method that goes just right in with federal agencies now, where they are treating existing civilians like suspects before it considers committing a crime. So engaging with your local and going to city council and straight out asking your police, what is your plan for interacting with ICE? Are you going to work with ICE, or are you going to protect us? Pushing them to not just give you a statement or a little promise at that meeting, actually set forth some sort of official statement, which cities and towns doing all over America now, where you have coming out making official statements. We stand, we're going to stand with our of federal agents. And so that aspect of it as well, we don't hold all the power to defend ourselves. We people that are paid by our local taxes that do that, but are they working with us? We need to have communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the idea of the specific roles and the community base of this is how we support each other in this moment, and how we build these groups is my thing. Listen to the people who've been doing it for a long time and follow their lead. Like, I'm going to follow the lead of the folks who've been doing this for a long time because they know what they're doing. And if I can use my power to build off of what they're doing to increase visibility, that's what I can do. That's what I want to do. Part of that, and I got to go, which is why I'm closing our show out, is let me just real quick put up our QR code so everybody can promote themselves and shamelessly tell people where they can be found and what they do and how they can be supported. I'm going to start with you, Melissa, my good friend, here real quick. Melissa at Counter Story Media. Sell your or promote yourself. Sorry, I'm getting away from the word sell yourself. Promote yourself. Unabashedly promote yourself today.
Well, like I was telling Nick before I got, families had to have a little bit of an intervention because I've been too much. So much I work for you guys. I always have my lab, always pushing to get as much information out to the masses as possible so that we educated, empowered, and informed voters. That's what I do.
Awesome. She does it really well too. She's also one of the main reasons I'm here, because I followed her lead and I actually followed her into a live just to listen. And that's how I found this incredible community. It was Dana Dubois and Lawrence Winterman's live on Gen Xe. So we found this incredible, we built an incredible community. Melissa is accidentally the center of that in a lot of ways. And I think that's really awesome. So go support Melissa, free or paid, whatever. Do both because she deserves it. Like, seriously, she deserves it. Next, my good buddy, Shane Urich. What's up, dude? Promote yourself.
Yeah, guys, I do geopolitics every day. Every day I put out a freaking, and I'll be honest, pretty bomb-ass newsletter now.
Oh, hell yeah, it is.
It's a really good newsletter.
It is pretty bomb-ass.
Feel like you're walking the freaking globe, and you're going to feel like way more informed. I'm willing to bet that if you watch a bunch of lives, my goal is to make sure that when you leave my live or finish my newsletter, I was the most informative and helpful thing that you read that day. And that's my goal. That's what I strive for. And I think I get closer every day. Obviously, there's a lot of remarkable people on here, but I want to make sure that you guys get the news and the context. Something I find genuinely lacking in a lot of people who are just doing daily reporting is context. So I do a daily show. I stream it actually here on Banner and Backbone Media, as well as my publication. We're trying to do a lot of things. We're trying to expand and really just build something that works, community as well. And I'd be honored to have you come over and watch the show, read the newsletter, and just give us a shot and see if the Firebrand Project and our reports and the newsletters can provide you that context that can make you feel more powerful and less stressed in a world where the headlines really don't make sense. And that's really what I'm trying to do and what we try and do. And I think we're doing a pretty good job at it. So I hope you come check us out.
I think you're doing a pretty good job at it too. Your stuff gets better and better every time I see it. I looked at it while I was broadcasting on Banner and Backbone on the homepage yesterday, and it looked fucking dope. It was so good, dude. Like, I'm so glad we can offer that space here on Banner and Backbone to help you. And it's incredible that we get to do that. So glad you're with us, brother. Glad you're here with us.
Guys,
also,
Nick and Banner and Backbone, I have to leave, but
yep.
I love you guys.
Love you too, brother. Thanks for hopping on with us. I'll make sure you get tagged in the post show if it didn't.
I should already have done it, but if I didn't, I'll make sure to do it. But I'll see all y'all later. Take care.
All right. Thanks, dude. Yeah, come support me here at Sick of This Shit Publications. That's my other home. That's where I do all of my chronic illness and masculinity discussions. I'll keep mine really short because I got to hop off here in a moment too. I've got another interview, Intelligent Masculinity with the Opinionated Ogre, here in about 20 minutes. So come join us for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And that's where I do all of that work. So come support me, free or paid there. Next, come support our friends at Centered America who help make this possible, who help start this, who are incredible at what they do. They're an organization that is working for the good. They're a 501c4 nonprofit organization that's across the country. They're doing really good work. They're supporting and learning. They're learning from Indivisible and what they can do, and how we can, and they can get legislative ideas in and make a real impact. So come support Centered America as well. We support them. They're an incredible group of guys who are doing really, really good work. And then finally, come here and support Banner and Backbone. This is the network that's making it possible. We're putting the community together, and we are having a great time while doing it. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Come join us, Banner and Backbone, free or paid. I'm Nick Perro, joined by my good friend, Melissa Corrigan, and was with us our other good friend, Shane Urick. This has been an episode of The Window of Discussion, and we'll see y'all next week as we start pulling it back into reality. Thanks, y'all. Have a great one. Bye, Melissa.